Hello everyone. Troilios here, and welcome back to my Problems with Rank mini series. Uh, Quick introduction to the series if you're new. So this series talks about the different problems that come under the category of Elo Hell in competitive mode, where players are unable to climb because of factors that are beyond their control. So what I try to do in this mini series is address what these issues are and how best you can deal with them if you're facing these problems in your games. And these aren't any guaranteed solutions, but they will make your life a tad bit easier. So, in this part, we'll be talking about throwers. We've previously spoken about toxicity, one tricks, and smurfs, three of which are really major issues in rank. And so are throwers. And like I said at the end of my previous video, throwers are kind of at the intersection of these three, uh, like where throwers can be a kind of amalgam of two or three of these previous categories: toxic players, one tricks, and smurfs. So let me just speak about what throwers are first. So they should need no introduction, but throwers are players that intentionally compromise your match and make you lose. And this is really not nice because there are five other players on your team who have worked hard to get to their SR, whatever that might be. They put in their time and effort to improve in the game, and one person just coming in and saying, "Nope, I'm not going to let you climb any further." That's just nonsense. That's really bad behavior. That's highly immoral, and it disgusts me when someone intentionally throws, like, just basically just throws the game when I'm playing. So these throwers, um, they might come into the game with the intention of throwing, which happens a lot in case they want to smurf. So, like I said, smurfs will be players who intentionally place at a lower rank so they can try out different heroes or just simply carry games in lower tiers and have some fun. So, um, yeah, so players like that will come into your games with the intention of throwing. They will, there's nothing you can do about them really, other than kind of consider only the remaining five of you as a team and pretending it's a 5v6 match. But there are also other kinds of throwers who come into the game with a positive mentality or with the intention to win. But something happens in the game that changes their attitude and kind of makes them lose faith that they can win the game, because of which they throw. Excuse me, I need to cough a bit. Sorry about that. Bad weather. So, now that we've established what throwers are, we need to also um, know ways of figuring out if someone is actually a thrower or if they are just bad at the game. So, the first way throwers will throw is by feeding the enemy, which is pretty simple and a pretty basic concept. Feeders are essentially players that will walk into the enemy team alone or in a group, whatever, but they won't do anything useful and they will just end up dying to the enemy every single time, which feeds the enemy a lot of ult charge, needless to say. That's why they are labeled as feeders, right? They'll just make your enemy charge their ult faster. The second way people throw is by swapping the hero continuously. And one might be like, how the hell do you identify if they are throwers or not? Because some people will swap a counter pick. But if you see someone swapping extremely frequently, so let's say for instance they start off with Soldier 76, they die once and then they just go something like Junkrat, then they die, then they go Genji, then they die, then they go Reinhardt, stuff like that. Alright, so if they're swapping continuously, they even won't build up their ultimate really fast, or at all. Essentially, they won't build up their ultimate, and maybe they are just fooling around at that point, right? Even if they do get the ultimate, they won't use it efficiently because they want the team to lose, things like that. So yeah, if you see someone swapping needlessly and continuously, then it's likely that they are a thrower. Another thing Another way throwers will compromise you is by picking heroes that are bad against the enemy comp. So let me create an example. Okay, let's say you're on King's Row, right? You're defending on King's Row, and so for so generally on the first and second points, you will see a lot of goats being played. It is a good goats map. So let's say the enemy goes goats on defense, and you're attacking, and the one guy just picks Tracer. You know that Tracer is weak against goats, primarily because of Brigitte, but also because they have so much sustain that Tracer can't get picks on them. So the Tracer's just going in, either dying or not doing anything every time. Her pulse bombs are getting wasted, and she's basically not bringing any value to the team and is refusing to swap off. But let's say miraculously you somehow kept the first point. Let's say somehow miraculously you kept the second point as well. Now on third point, uh, it's it benefits long range characters more than it benefits goats because there's a lot of high ground. So you'll see a lot of double sniper comps being played there. So let's say, and Tracer isn't inherently weak to double sniper. The only issue is that she has to figure out how to get to high ground where the snipers are generally placed. Once she figures that out, it's just easy picks for her, right? Gunomeka and Hanzo not that good at killing Tracer unless their aim is insanely good and their game sense. So let's say you do go on to third point, and then the Tracer, who is actually strong against the double sniper comp, then swaps to Junkrat. And Junkrat is a terrible choice against double sniper. He has no range to take them on. Maybe he just stands on low ground and spams the high ground, but even then, he's not guaranteed to get a good angle of shooting. So at that point, and if the Junkrat, obviously you can watch the kill feed. You can make out if the Junkrat is getting any picks or not. And if he isn't, and if he even wasn't a Tracer, then you know he's probably throwing. Or he just like the greatest idiot you ever come across. which is not which is not surprising in rank, honestly. And players like these, they come in with the mindset that they're going to throw the match. And because of that, like I said, play like it's a 5v6 and do your best and accept that you're likely not going to win that match. You'll not tilt, or maybe you'll tilt less and let it affect your oncoming games less. Now the second kind of the second kind of throwers stem from the previous issues that we spoke about. The first one being toxicity, right? If a player is toxic, and then you know that they are players that are upset extremely easily. So toxic players will generally be focused on other people's mistakes on their own team, and they will flame every single person on their team for every small mistake that they make. And when that happens, if let's say your supports are dying too often and basically they are not bringing any value to the team because they're getting picked, uh, toxic players will just start flaming them. They'll not focus on their own game, and they'll end up compromising everyone. Or they'll tilt to such a point where they just decide, okay, I'm going to throw, and then they'll start doing any of those actions that I mentioned before. Or even they might even do stuff like start jumping off the map, for instance. I remember I was in this Junkertown game, and on attack we actually did pretty well. We had two DPS. They had Korean IDs. Now, firstly, I don't know which Koreans play on American servers, but anyway, so those Koreans did a pretty good job. They were playing Widow and Genji, and on attack, we didn't complete with like a massively high time, but let's just say it was close, and the DPS did a fairly good job. But then when it was our turn to defend, they picked Torbjorn and Symmetra, which I don't mind. Okay, if people are playing builders, I myself play Torbjorn a lot, and a friend of mine plays Symmetra. You can see that Junkrat going over there, Bullman26. So he plays a ton of Symmetra, right? And we have found out that double builder combinations, if executed properly, can actually be quite strong. You can deny massive area to the enemy. You can uh, kind of you have a lot of defensive utilities available to you, and those combos can work. But these two Koreans, whom I actually had faith in when our round defense phase started, they jumped off the map as soon as the round started, as soon as the enemy walked out of spawn. And we were just like, what the hell, man? How can you do something like that? And obviously, two players jumping off at the same time is no coincidence, especially if they are stacked up. We knew at that point itself that they were throwing. And I didn't, at that point, I didn't really know what to do, and I just got really tilted. I just got really mad about the whole situation, and I kind of kept on, you know, telling them in voice chat, how can you do this, guys? Come on, we did so well on attack. Please don't throw the game. We worked hard to get here. I do get very sentimental about this when I play because I feel if you just want to play casually, just don't play competitive, right? Just go hang out in quick play, play in the arcade, make custom games, have fun. But don't compromise the skill ratings of other players who have worked their butts off to get to that point. So at that point I was really mad, but slowly I learned how to deal with how to mentally deal with throwers. And that made my life quite easy when it like the moment I knew that we had a thrower on our team, I don't just give up hope now. I try to play around that. I know that I'm probably still going to lose the match, but I still play the best that I can and tell my team to give it their all. That's the most we can do. Then the second category, I had spoken about one tricks, and one tricks can indirectly throw the match for your team. And the way they do that is simply because they don't swap to match what the enemy has. They will not counter pick, they will not stall pick, and they will essentially just stick to the hero or the role that they want to play. And even though someone else on the team might be better suited to do it, or that player playing another hero or role might be beneficial to the team, they will simply not swap. And that is an indirect throw because they are putting their ego before the skill ratings of themselves and their fellow teammates. And they might not want to throw. They might not want to throw the game, right? They might want to work hard and they might want to try and win that match, but just on the hero or the role that they're playing. And in Overwatch, that cannot really work for you. No hero or role works in every single situation. Like if you have a coach comp against you, you cannot just say I'm going to play Tracer. Or if you have like the enemy playing 3 DPS, then you can't just say, hey, you know what? Let's just have no tank and just match their DPS instead. You can't just do that. You have to make intelligent choices when it comes to picking a hero or role in Overwatch. And the third kind, which I spoke about, Smurfs. Now, there are two types of throws when it comes to Smurfs. When the Smurfs are in the initial phase where they want to derank, they will be directly throwing the match anyway. And that's obvious because of stuff like feeding or jumping off the map and things like that that I spoke about. But even when they are in that phase where they are actually trying hard, they will act like one tricks. That's what that's what you might see. Like half of all Smurfs will be one tricking. The other half will still be playing, but they'll just play what they feel like and they won't play what the team requires. So those so that will be counted as an indirect throw. And when it comes down to dealing with throwers essentially, we need to have a positive mindset and know that there's one thing we can do to deal with every single thrower, and that is simply report them. And having enough people report a player does actually make a difference. Blizzard has started suspending accounts a bit more right now. Earlier they weren't so strict about throwers, but now it looks like they've started taking a better stance on things. So even I've received a message saying that a person that you had reported has been suspended. We can't reveal details, but thanks for making Overwatch a better place and things like that. And it's really nice to hear from Blizzard to know that they're actually doing something about it. So, and one more thing, I encourage all of you not to throw your games. Stuff like angry swaps are alright, where you just think like, oh, DPS aren't doing anything. I'm just gonna go. If you get value out of angry swaps, just go for it. But don't throw. Just don't pick heroes that you've never played before, stuff like that. Which is another way to identify throwers, by the way. They just pick heroes that their profiles say that they haven't ever played, basically, or played very little. So Anyway, you guys have a nice season 14. Don't throw your matches, report all throwers, deal with them in the most positive manner that you can. Uh, if you agree with what I had to say, like the video. If you disagree, you can comment about what you disagree with and we can have a healthy discussion about it. Uh, Feel free to share the video if you think others need to know what the points I've made. I can apologize for the audio quality, I know it's not ideal. But anyway, thank you for watching to the end. Um, if you stuck around, you're probably going to learn from these points and you're going to make ranked a better place for yourself and for everyone else. So again, thanks for that. I'll see you in the next video. I'm not sure what I'll be speaking about because I have 2 or 3 points more. I might speak about disconnects in this case, but anyway, let's see. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Have a nice season 14.